Hey, what is up, Rick?
Kevin, how you doing today?
I am doing well. Good to see you. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, we're in the dog days of summer here, mid-August, but the end is in sight. I think we're starting to come around to September and some cooler temps. So let's get to it today.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to be talking about two companies here. The first is Navvis. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So, a little back history on Navvis. One of the reality capture companies that I worked at actually used Navvis for their BIM capture very early on.
Hmm.
And that would have been 2019 around. So, cool to see them raising an $85 million Series D.
Yeah, that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, it's a good number. So let's get into it. Okay. Navis raises $85 million Series D round to supply the data foundation for physical AI. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Munich, Germany, August 6th. Navis secures a USD $85 million investment round led by US private equity firm The Jordan Company, as well as existing shareholders, together with a consortium of industrial family offices and Scipio Partners. The Munich-based company plans to use the capital to build its massive spatial data engine and accelerate the AI product roadmap.
Well, Kevin, as you know, I'm a big fan of having that. What are you doing with it? With all the money, question answered right up top, and they do that here, right? Plans to use the capital to build a massive spatial data engine. Boom. Okay, I know what these guys are, who these guys are, and I know what they're doing with their cash. So I give them a thumbs up for that first opening paragraph.
Yeah, and they definitely piqued my interest with the spatial data engine. I want to learn more.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
okay, then they've got some italics here. Interesting use of italics.
Mhm.
More than a billion square meters scanned, processed, and distributed in 2025 alone. Physical reality made known, trusted, and actionable, fueling the future of physical AI in industry and construction.
You know what, Kevin? That sounds a little bit like a subhead to me that may have somehow got misformatted.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too, right? The way the sentence structure works, they're pretty
Yeah.
fragmented. It's not a paragraph. So I agree with you. I think that probably was the subhead and somehow it jumped down here. But I love the use of data. Billion square meters scanned in 2025 alone. That's
Mhm.
significant.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know if it is actually significant. I just know that it sounds really impressive.
It sounds impressive, and I can tell you from an industry perspective, it's quite significant. It's a lot. Okay, Navis, the spatial data platform for the built world. Navis was founded on the conviction that operating the built world needs a productivity boost, from complex construction projects to the largest factories and infrastructure. Providing the spatial data foundation to physical assets accurately, instantly, and at 10% of the former cost will unlock trillions of dollars in global productivity. The sentence structure is strange here. I'm wondering if they I don't think they used AI. I think it was maybe a non-native speaker maybe that wrote this.
Yeah, that was my first thought as well, especially with the dateline from Germany. So yeah, there's a lot of words here that can kind of trip you up and make you, read it twice. What I'm looking for in a release at this stage of the release is what is the major problem that you're solving that you are able to raise $85 million for? And I don't quite see that here.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, they're just talking about the productivity problem in construction, which is a dead horse that we've been beating for 2 decades now. But I agree. I do like to see context in terms of like the problem that they're solving and why they matter and are the best to solve it. So let's keep going and see if they get into it. Today, Navis combines survey grade reality capture, 10x faster than traditional methods with Navis Ivion, a collaborative enterprise cloud platform that turns spatial data into shared, trusted, always current spatial twins. Okay, so now they're kind of getting into like what they do.
Yeah, getting a little closer, 10x faster. Anytime you can have a superlative like that, faster, larger, or whatever it is, it's good to include that. Again, as you mentioned the word context, I would like a little bit more. 10 times faster. That gives you what? Is that a money savings? Is that some other kind of benefit? I just want to know what I'm getting, as a contractor, let's say,
Yeah.
that 10x faster is going to turn into what for me?
Right. Now, the good news for them is like anyone that's looking into their products will have will probably have some background, but the reporter won't, right? So as an industry person, I could tell you, well, they're creating a digital twin so that they can go into high density rooms and data centers, let's say,
Mhm.
and figure out maintenance issues, access issues before equipment's installed and on data. I could go on and on and on. So I understand what they do, but the reporter doesn't, and that's what matters.
Yeah,
Okay.
great point.
So where were we? More than 1 billion square meters of the world's most complex industrial plants, construction sites, and buildings have been added to the Navvis platform in 2025 alone, reducing rework and downtime and forming the foundation for automation, analytics, and AI-driven decision making at scale. They're staying
Okay.
really high. They're staying like 30,000 feet, aren't they?
Yeah, but now I'm starting to see how this could benefit me,
Sure.
right?
Well,
Reducing rework and downtime, forming foundation for automation, analytics, and AI driven decision making at scale.
yep.
Those are things I can relate to my business.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're starting to get into a little bit more context here. And I guess someone looking for scanning like this would be comparing it maybe to like a total station. So that's where the 10x faster comes in. Okay. Over 150,000 users in engineering, maintenance, and construction teams rely on Navvis data and systems, reducing downtime of automotive assembly lines, accelerating data center construction, or shortening maintenance shutdowns of refineries. Other customers use Navvis data for planning of next generation robotics rollouts or for the training of industrial foundational models. Very cool. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of good language here from an SEO standpoint as well.
Totally. Yeah, I think some of this that we're getting into now could have definitely been higher up in the release. They could have made it much punchier by just getting to the meat and
Yeah,
potatoes. Also, good use of data, like the billion square meters. Now we've got the 150,000 users, 1,500 customers. So here we go. By now, more than 1,500 customers in more than 50 countries trust Navvis spatial data solutions, among them biggest names in automotive, construction, and the process industry, including BMW, Volkswagen, Toyota. They go on and on and on.
yeah,
Siemens. The company also holds strong partnerships with leading technology players such as SAP, NVIDIA, and Autodesk.
yeah. This is just real, like strong credibility and validation, right? We work with some of the biggest companies in the world.
Right. Yeah, they've got awesome, awesome, awesome logos, which you'd expect at a Series $85 million Series D stage.
Yeah,
So good of them to drop those in here. Navvis plans to invest the funds raised into the next generation of technology and infrastructure required to scale spatial data turnover by another order of magnitude and into the AI layer required to make spatial data semantic, actionable, and accessible for millions of operators, as well as to the robots and agents that will bring physical AI into the construction and industry. That's interesting. Into the construction and industry. Yeah, we could have used some wordsmithing and copy editing on this release for sure.
hmm.
Um, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead. I agree with you. I was just going to touch on the next section.
Go for it. Yep.
So when you're talking about quotes in a press release, there are a couple of different ways you can look at it. You can weave it in and out of the other paragraphs and get a quote from your CEO a little bit higher up the page, right? Or you can do what they've done here and just kind of bullet point or bold the name of the person and then drop in the quote. And you see they've got three of them at least here. So I think you can do this. I think if you do, you have to do it like they did it and bold the person so it's an easy read for the reporter, right? A reporter is scanning your press release to see who might be quoted in it. So they make it easy here on one level by having that in bold. The other being, it's at the bottom of the release, so that might, you hope that the reporter gets there.
Do you have a preference in style between this and working it in as like a story point throughout the release itself?
I I think there's some real validity to doing it this way. I think reporters are skimming quickly, and subheads in bold is a way to catch their eye and let them know, all right, this next chunky, paragraph, here's what it's about, or here's who the quote's from. I think that can work.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, let's get into the CEO quote. Our mission is to keep the physical and digital reality synchronized for the world's most valuable assets. I love that line. Our customers are the most demanding operators on Earth, and they are trusting us with billions of square meters of spatial data of their most mission critical infrastructure. We have raised this round to do even more scalability, more intelligence, and ultimately more productivity for the underlying assets. At the same time, we will broaden our market presence with strong focus on the US market, where we have been scaling the fastest in recent years. That's a slam dunk quote. Great
Yeah,
job to
it's really strong.
Felix. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
I
slam
agree.
dunk.
It hits on 3 or 4 points that you really want to talk about in terms of, talking about or alluding to the people they work with, talking about what they're going to do with this new money. There's just a lot of really smart language here.
Yeah, this is really good. Okay, let's see what the CTO said. Acting in the physical world has always meant planning against drawings no one fully trusts. We changed that. Navvis captures any factory, plant, or building at survey grade standards and days and holds it as the system of record for industrial reality data. One governed, always current record that every team, every tool, and every AI system can build on. This round takes us further. Next generation capture, a deeper intelligence layer, and an open platform for the physical AI ecosystem.
It's also good. Sometimes it can be real tricky with a CTO quote. They can dive a little too deep and start talking about things that are only of interest to a CTO. They do a pretty good job here of keeping it high enough level that somebody who isn't necessarily a software engineer can still understand the value of what they're bringing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a balancing act. Like you don't want to say the exact same thing as the CEO, even though
Right.
you are an executive. So you need to have some technological twist on it or perspective. But yeah, you don't want to go so deep in the weeds that nobody knows what you're talking about. I think Dr. George did a great job. Okay, here's one of the investors, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Navvis has built category defining technology, a deep, loyal customer base, and a team with the vision to redefine how the physical world is digitized. Navvis exemplifies what we look for in our industrial technology investments, a superior technological solution serving the world's most demanding industrial operators. We are proud to partner with the Navvis team at this inflection point and invest in continued innovation and outstanding product experience for their customers. Yeah, it's pretty safe, but good. Does
Yeah.
the job.
Right. I was going to say this one falls a little flatter for me than the first two. There's a lot of language here that seems, as you said, kind of safe, and it could be talking about a number of different companies. I'd like a little bit more from the investor, maybe on their viewpoint of the category, or just something that shows like this is why we invested in these guys and not anybody else.
Yeah, a little bit more ode to their thesis, perhaps.
Hmm.
Here's another potential investor. Navvis is one of the rare physical AI companies to reach real scale. We're proud to have backed this journey from its earliest days and reinforce our partnership with this round. So it's a continuation. That's nice.
Mhm.
Here's another one. We sincerely congratulate Navvis on the success of this Series D round, which marks a major inflection point as Navvis Ivion becomes the intelligent system of record for physical reality data. Since our business partnership began in 2015, we have walked alongside Navvis for over 10 years as an early stage partner. We're very proud to work together to accelerate the development of global physical AI ecosystem, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so just a couple continuation comments from partners.
Yeah, and there's something to keep in mind here. It can be a political issue with investor quotes. Do you just do the lead investor? Well, what about the people who have been with you maybe for 2 or 3 rounds in this case? So it's a balancing act sometimes of what investor quotes get included, and then you're left with, okay, we have 3 investor quotes, which on some level is good, but yeah, they've got to kind of all carve out their own space, and that gets a little tricky.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at their boilerplate because I always enjoy those. Navvis is the spatial twin platform for the built world, which is a little bit different language than what they used above, which means it's a little
Yeah,
bit out of date. I like their newer messaging up top.
yeah.
Navvis was founded on a single conviction that the people who build and operate the physical world deserve to know exactly what the world looks like, accurately, instantly, and always. Today, Navvis combines 10x faster, survey grade mobile reality capture with an enterprise spatial twin platform that turns captured data into shared, trusted, always current digital reality. More than 2 billion square meters of the world's most complex industrial plants, construction sites, and buildings now live on the Navvis platform, reducing waste, rework, and downtime, and forming the foundation for automation, analytics, and an AI-driven decision making at scale. Couple things that I noticed right away. I mean, so more than 2 billion square meters so far. Well, they did a billion last year. So if they did a billion last year, and I know they've been around for 10 years, in my head, I'm like, wow, they're doing a huge volume. Obviously, they are at an inflection point and hit some sort of like exponential growth in
Yeah.
2025 in terms of data capture. When they put 2 billion here, it kind of puts like a ball and chain on them in my mind. It's not as rapid of growth as I was sort of inferencing just from reading
Mm,
a billion in 2025. So
yeah.
they should get rid of that 2 billion square meters figure here and just let the 1 billion above do the heavy lifting or add 1 billion in 2025 down here as well. And then the other comment is some of this language I could tell is a little bit out of date relative to the messaging above. So I think it could use a refresh.
Yeah, and I think it could use maybe 1 or 2 sentences could get removed. It felt a little redundant at times. It felt a little too detailed at times. So I agree. I think there's good stuff here, but a review is probably in order.
Yeah. And this is like super common. Uh, every time you create any asset, the messaging is being refined and that's, being pressure tested and evolving, right? Whatever the last story you told is generally the best messaging you have,
Mm,
or whatever the story you're telling currently.
yeah.
And these boilerplates, they 6 months or 9 months goes by, you don't touch them and they go out of date. So I wonder if the release was originally in German. What do you think?
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly, yeah. Anyways, I won't go down a rabbit hole with that. But yeah, I think on the substance of the release, like $85 million Series D round in construction in the built world technology is a significant number. Series D is like a later stage. So substance is pretty good here. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 on substance. Now again,
Mhm.
I'm comparing that substance relative to this space, construction software. I'm not comparing it to like, OpenAI's newest model or whatever Elon Musk is
Sure.
doing in the news today. It's just within our space on that bell curve, 8 out of 10 on substance. And as far as execution, I'm gonna go. They did have a lot of good data and they had a lot of the right stuff there. I would have changed some of the formatting and the sequencing and things like that, but they had a lot of good stuff in there. So
Yeah.
they weren't missing things. Maybe a customer quote would have been nice, but it was more about like, the layout of the information. So I'm gonna go 7.5 on execution. What about you?
Yeah, I think there, as you said, Kevin, good information. I think this is the type of news that probably gets the attention of the trade media. So in terms of the newsworthiness, yeah, I think it's right up there at around an 8. In terms of the formatting and how it's structured, I agree with you. While there is a lot of good information, it might be something I would have reworked a little bit. And as I think about it, I mentioned earlier about the quotes and them having them all, at the bottom, which is fine. That is a choice. I'm just wondering now, because this is a funding release. I wonder if it would have made sense to have a quote from the lead investor as like the second or third paragraph. That might have been good to have that higher up in the release, since that's really the focus. It's hey, they got $85 million from these people. I want to hear from one of those people.
Sure. I
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say on that note, like they also like name dropped a ton of amazing logos. Um, getting a logo from one of them like is would have been ExxonMobil saying, we use this to map all our refineries, and we're using that data to do X, Y, and Z. I think that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, so I ding them a little bit on that. So maybe that makes that one a 7.5.
Okay. Well, shout out to Navvis on the money and the raise, and excited to see where things go. Just a sort of a side comment, right, on reality capture. I think the rise of the data center is what really fueled a lot of these digital twin capture companies because it's really expensive.
Mm.
Um, and it looks, Navis always offered the service and the hardware. It looks like they've like really moved into the service side like heavier as well, which is great. When I was partnered with them, it was, through a service provider, so a little bit different setup. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of where data center construction goes and how that ultimately impacts this category of products.
Yeah, I think it's only going to grow, right? I don't think we're going to get away from this sort of thing. So Navis is well positioned.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Shout out Navis. And yeah, until next week's issue of the review, any closing thoughts?
No, I just continue to see that there is funding activity in this space, which is a good thing to see. Every week you get those newsletters, and there's 5, 6, 7 people getting money there. So like to see that.
Good stuff. All right, thanks, Rick.
You bet.